habits. It is just one word, but it can mean the difference between rich and poor, sad or happy, and most importantly, satisfied or unsatisfied. There's this quote by Warren Buffett that goes, "The chains of a habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken." That makes me ask, what are these heavy chains? What exactly are these poor money habits? I wanted to find out, so I did some digging, and here's what I found. The first bad habit I came across was buying cheap alternatives. Yes, you heard that right, buying cheap things. Now this is kind of counterintuitive. You think that when you make a purchase decision, you should probably buy the thing that costs less compared to the more expensive alternative, right? If you look at just a regular t-shirt or like a Supreme t-shirt, you probably should just go with the regular t-shirt because it's a lot cheaper. But that might not be the case. Let's look at an example. Say you wanted to buy a mountain bike. You went to the store and there's two options available. There's a $500 bike and then there's a $300 bike. Now both bikes are pretty capable, they're both pretty much the same, however one has higher end components and the other one has lower end components. Now you look at the decision as a $500 versus $300 decision and you choose a $300 option. You go home, you ride the bike, you have a lot of fun, but after 2 or 3 years that bike starts falling apart. Those components just don't last as long, you're running into problems with your chain, your tires, and eventually your bike completely breaks down. At that point, you need to go back to the store and decide if you're going to purchase another $300 bike or a $500 bike. And either way, you're down over $800 because you already bought the first bike. But let's look at the situation a little bit differently. Say instead of buying the cheaper bike, you bought the more expensive bike with the higher end components. Well, chances are over time, those components will last and you won't have to replace the bike nearly as much. So maybe it would be better to buy the more expensive alternative the first time. I personally have seen this a lot in my life. I buy things that I don't want to spend a lot of money on, and it turns out I could have bought a more expensive option and that would have saved me money because eventually the cheaper option I bought fell apart and I had to go out and replace it to the more expensive option anyway. The second bad habit someone can have is spending money on things that don't add value to themselves. I tend to believe in a concept called financial minimalism. And what this means is you only spend money on assets, investments that bring value to your life. Recently, USA Today published a story. You want to hear what the title in the story was? You don't need that. Average American spends almost $18,000 a year on non-essentials. These things could be anything from warranties, credit card interest, certain types of insurance, unused subscriptions, or even waste such as food waste. That soda you bought the other day? Yeah, you could probably include that too. The list goes on and on. Restaurant meals, impulse purchases, subscription boxes, cable, online shopping, unused gym memberships, bottled water, music and video services. How about that piece of fitness equipment that's laying downstairs? Yeah, you probably could add that into the list of unused purchases as well. These manage to eat away at our paycheck without providing really any value to us. And one of the things we can do if we eliminate these is put more money into savings or investing and cut away this bad habit. When we eliminate these unneeded expenses, we find that our paycheck seems to last a lot longer. And this can be kind of hard to do, but if we look at our expenses last month, we probably can find 1 or 2 things that we might have been able to do away with. These are tags, and they represent yet another bad money habit. And that is buying things just because they are on sale. I made a whole video on that and you can go check it out. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but basically what this means is you spend money on things just because they go on sale. Now it's important to note that I'm not referring to buying something like a big ticket item that you're waiting for it to go on sale before you purchase it, because that's actually a very smart millionaire decision to make, to wait for something big to go on sale before you purchase it. What I'm referring to actually is buying something that you never would have had a use for and only purchased because it went on sale. Now stores know this, and that's why they put a lot of items up for sale on a regular basis. You know, you walk through a grocery store, you might be able to find more of the sales tags than you can count. And this is because sales tags actually convince us to purchase an item that we might have not purchased otherwise. Sometimes stores will even add a promotion to an item, And this is oftentimes that little extra nudge as well, and this sort of goes into the same category, is buying things just because we might be able to get the little free extra item that comes along with it. I mean, I think we're all guilty of this at one point or another in our lives, right? Another bad habit, well, I don't know if I would call it a bad habit. It might just be something that's missing from a lot of people's lives. And what I'm referring to is emergency funds. Now, this fund can also be called a rainy day fund or a backup fund. And the purpose of emergency funds is to set aside some of your expenses so that when an emergency comes up or an unexpected expense, whether that be a dental or even like a car expense, you'll have money set aside so you don't have to go into debt or even pull out of your investment savings to cover that expense. Now, one thing about emergency funds that I don't hear anybody really saying online, and that is it actually helps with your mental health. Just think about it. If you had money set aside for emergencies or unexpected occurrences that were going to happen, you would be a lot calmer on your day-to-day lives. You wouldn't be worried so much about money. You wouldn't have so much financial stress. You have that money sitting there just for that reason. Of course, you don't touch this money for anything fun. You just touch it for the unexpected expenses. I personally try to do about 6 months of my day-to-day expenses in my emergency fund, and I found that this not only helps me when I do have an unexpected expense because I don't have to go into debt for it, and I don't have to pull money out of my investment accounts just to cover like a small expense. The next bad habit comes with a story. Recently, I volunteered at the VITA program, and what this stands for is Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. And what I did at this program was I helped people file their taxes. One of the things that I found so interesting and peculiar and odd was that a lot of these people that I was helping didn't know really anything about taxes. They didn't know that a lot of the decisions they made regarding selling stocks, crypto, giving gifts, and even like contributions to a 401k or a Roth IRA, they all impacted their tax liability. And so this is like another bad habit that a lot of people have, is just not understanding taxes, not understanding how to make taxes work for them. Because taxes aren't so bad and evil. Oftentimes you can go without spending any money on taxes if you just understand the tax code and understand how to make it work for you. If you look at people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, they're very successful and they have hired their own tax assistants to help them so they pay very little in taxes. That's why you see on the headlines, rich person pays very little in taxes. That's because there's ways to work around taxes to not actually have to pay very much. And that's what a lot of rich and successful people do, is they look at the tax code and fully understand that their day-to-day decisions regarding, stocks, crypto, buying things, selling things, giving things, all affect their taxes. So what they can do is they can plan their purchases and plan their gifts in a way to minimize their tax liability. Okay. There's a few statistics I'd like to share with you. There's this one that really bothers me, and that is this. This is how much the average American has in savings. This won't cover very much. It might not even cover the smallest dental emergency or even a car payment. However, for many people, this is all that they have in their savings. And for others, it may look like this. When we unravel this thread farther and farther, we tend to see more and more depressing statistics. In fact, as a group, Americans right now are over $841 billion in debt. Over half of Americans report having credit card debt. And the average debt per American household is $6,720. But this doesn't have to be you. Together, we can cut our bad money habits and live our lives how we want. My goal with this channel is to help as many people as possible learn more about finance and take the next steps in their financial journey. If any of that interests you and you want to see more videos, please consider subscribing. As always, love and serve and help the people around you. I am Stephen Ethan, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.